Video number 107. Welcome to a quick note, where we explore fascinating historical tales and intriguing stories from around the world. In today's episode, we'll dive into the mysteries of lost cities, the origins of the Lost City of Atlantis. But before we unravel these submerged secrets, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to stay updated on our quick dives into history. Now let's get started. So picture this. The wild quest to find the mythical Atlantis has been a real roller coaster. We're talking confusing clues, dead ends, and a whole lot of head-scratching moments. But here's the mind-bender. Turns out Atlantis was never a thing. Nope, no traces of an actual Atlantis city. It didn't do the disappearing act into the sea because some grumpy gods threw a tantrum. Hold on to your hats, though. Even with the reality check, folks have been hooked on this idea since the late 1800s, when it transformed into a modern myth. Most smarty pants think it's just a cool concept cooked up by the ancient Greek philosopher Plato. But here's the kicker. The story still keeps us all dreaming and wondering. Plato wasn't spilling the beans on some hidden island getaway with Atlantis. He was playing the allegory game. In his writings, Atlantis wasn't a legit city with coordinates on a map. It was more like a symbol. Picture this. Atlantis was the poster child for the perfect society and a cautionary tale about what happens when we humans mess things up. It's like Plato had this secret code using Atlantis to dish out life lessons about the dreamy ideals and the not-so-nifty consequences of our own goof-ups. At first, Atlantis was like a secret handshake among thinkers, a symbol, not a real-life GPS destination. But hold on tight, because in the late 1800s things got spicy. Some folks ditched the metaphorical vibes and went full detective mode, thinking Plato was dropping breadcrumbs to an actual Atlantis. The story did a 180 from allegory to a possible legit historical hotspot. This switcheroo cranked up the mystery dial, injecting a dose of thrill and suspense into the narrative. The tale of Atlantis keeps us hooked because it's a spark plug for our imagination. Whether you're vibing with it as a symbolic tale or gearing up for a real-life treasure hunt, the notion of a perfect society slipping through the cracks of time just grabs us. It's like a mystery that tickles our curiosity and stokes the flames of our hunger for discovery. So, what is the story behind Atlantis? Dive into Plato's Timaeus Critias dialogues, and you're in for a treat. Tales of a Greek city-state cooked up by none other than Neptune, the sea deity. Atlantis, painted as this mega-successful and supercharged powerhouse, wasn't just your average island. It started out bigger than both Libya and Asia combined. Picture that. But here's the twist. Earthquakes decided to party, and over time Atlantis supposedly pulled a vanishing act. Sunk beneath the waves, it left behind nothing but murky waters that you wouldn't want to swim through. Quite the aquatic drama, if you ask me. Once upon a time, folks saw Atlantis as this flawless society, run by a bunch of virtuous individuals. But you know how the story usually goes. The residents got a bit too cozy with greed, forgetting to give the gods their due respect. The result? A 1-2 punch of destruction, a fiery spectacle, and some earth-shaking action. Turns out arrogance and a lack of divine manners can lead to a pretty intense eviction notice, even for the fanciest of civilizations. So here's the scoop. Plato's whole Atlantis adventure unfolds in his works known as Timaeus Critias. Hold on to your togas because this ancient text is the VIP pass to the Atlantis story. No other sources allowed. Now let's clear the fog. Even though Plato was rubbing shoulders with historians in his time, he wasn't one of them. Nope, he was the philosopher-in-chief. Picture him more as a deep thinker than a history buff. In the pages of Timaeus Critias, he didn't just spin the Atlantis yarn for kicks, it was more of a brain workout. Plato, the master philosopher, tossed Atlantis into the ring of Socratic debates, turning it into a kind of mental sparring match to flex his moral arguments. Now, here's the twist many Atlantis storytellers miss. Athens, Plato's stomping ground, plays a starring role. Picture this showdown. Athens, the defender, squaring off against the nemesis Atlantis. Plato, who once spilled the beans about his dream city, now throws it into the ring to see how it holds up against other states of the past. It's like Plato's turning his ideal city into a make-believe battleground, spicing up the tale with a dose of competition and clash between different societal blueprints. This added layer makes the Atlantis saga all the more intriguing, giving us a ringside seat to a philosophical face-off. So, the Atlantis saga kicks off when Socrates, playing the mastermind in Plato's script, throws down the gauntlet. He's all like, "Hey folks, let's play make-believe." Socrates wants the lowdown on how different cities would hold their own in friendly face-offs. And that's when Atlantis gets its golden ticket to the spotlight. In this epic thought game, Plato sets the stage for a hypothetical city showdown. It's like a virtual Olympics for civilizations, and Atlantis is the wildcard entry. Socrates, with his curiosity on overdrive, guides us through this exploration, turning the tale into a thrilling contest between cities that exist more in imagination than reality. Get ready for the drama, because when Plato unveiled Atlantis, he painted it with bold strokes as this cocky and godless civilization. Picture this contrast. On one side, you've got the Atlantis crew, all full of pride but not so hot on the divine respect scale. Now flip the script, and you've got their opponents, the humble, God-fearing underdogs, basically Athens on a pedestal. As the story struts its stuff, Atlantis finds itself on the wrong side of divine judgment, facing the big thumbs down from the gods. Meanwhile, Athens is the rising star, taking the stage as the dominant force and coming out on top, victorious in this ancient showdown. Talk about a celestial plot twist. According to Thomas Keller Johansen, a hotshot professor of ancient philosophy, the Atlantis tale isn't a history lesson but more like a crafted story. It's a narrative spun from the imagination, serving up a timeless lesson on how the ideal citizens should roll in real life. So think of it as less of a history class and more of a philosophical guide to being a top-notch citizen. Once upon a time in a land quite far away. Here's the scoop. Just by tossing Atlantis into a philosophical chat, Plato kind of winked at us, saying, hey, this isn't a real-world gig. But Plato, being the savvy storyteller, sensed the potential for mix-ups. So he did a little time travel and geography hop. The Athens versus Atlantis showdown set it way back a whopping 9,000 years ago. And as for the locale, he planted it beyond the familiar Greek turf, past what's called the Gates of Hercules, a fancy way of pointing to the Strait of Gibraltar. By playing this time and space game, Plato was practically waving a flag that said, yo, Atlantis is more of a mind game than a history lesson. It's like he crafted this epic tale to be less about actual events and more about flexing those philosophical muscles. So, rewind the clock thousands of years before Athens even hit the scene, let alone flexed its muscles as a bustling city with an empire and a powerhouse army. Here's what Thomas Keller Johansen drops on us. Plato's smart move of setting the Atlantis tale in the ancient past wasn't just for kicks. It's like a magic trick. Our sketchy knowledge about way back when lets us dive into the story without obsessing over historical details. By tossing Atlantis into this distant era, Plato basically gives us a free pass to go wild with our imagination. It's an open invitation for us to interpret the tale more as a fantastical, imaginative journey, rather than nitpicking every historical detail. Talk about a clever setup for a mind-bending adventure. Now let's tackle the million-dollar question. Where's this elusive lost city of Atlantis hiding? Well, some folks with a knack for interpretation throw a curveball. They say Atlantis might have set up shop right at Plato's Academia. Picture this, Plato's Academia hanging out just beyond Athens' city walls during the mid-4th century BC. It's like they're saying, hey, maybe Atlantis wasn't lost in the vast oceans, but right under our noses, chillin' near Athens. Now that's a plot twist worth pondering. Let's unravel the mystery behind the enduring myth of Atlantis. It seems like the story got its mojo from local tales of areas getting flooded, maybe stirred up by the ancient world's brush with earthquakes and floods. But here's the twist. Atlantis, as this concrete, real-deal city, is a no-show in the history books. As theories about vanishing continents took a backseat to our growing knowledge of continental drift, Atlantis held its ground, planting itself firmly in the pages of popular history. What's key here is that, despite its roots in Plato's deep thoughts about morality, Atlantis has become more than just a philosophical pondering. It's now this legendary tale that refuses to fade into the background, capturing our imaginations and taking on a life of its own beyond Plato's original musings. Talk about a story with staying power. Enter the literary maestros Francis Bacon and Thomas More, who took a leaf from Plato's book, turning Atlantis into an allegory for their own utopian novels. But here's where the plot thickens. Come the 19th century, some writers took a detour into Historyville, treating Atlantis like it's a factual account. Fast forward to the mid-1800s, and French scholar Brasseur de Bourbourg is stirring the pot. He throws out this headline-worthy theory linking Atlantis to Mesoamerica. Hold on to your hats, because this sensational idea suggests wild possibilities. Ancient exchanges between the old world and the new, way before Columbus set sail. It's like a historical thriller with a touch of mystery, brought to you by the 1800s Atlantis enthusiasts. In 1882, Ignatius L. Donnelly unleashed a literary storm with his infamous book, Atlantis, the Antediluvian World. But here's the twist. Donnelly wasn't playing by the archaeology rulebook. He dove headfirst into pseudo-archaeology. His grand claim, Atlantis, according to him, was the OG motherland for all ancient civilizations. Now brace yourself for the ripple effect. The widespread notion that Atlantis wasn't just a myth but a real deal. According to Donnelly, it housed super smart Atlanteans with top-notch tech, all about worshipping the sun. This idea, straight out of his book, planted deep roots and grew into the myths we know today about Atlantis being a hub of advanced civilization. So tip your hat to Ignatius L. Donnelly, because whether you buy it or not, his work remains a major player in shaping the enduring myths around Atlantis that continue to swirl around us. Talk about leaving a historical footprint. So, what cities are underwater? While a city named Atlantis may not have existed either above or beneath the tumultuous sea, history tells us about several cities that did indeed find themselves submerged by the ocean. Picture this: early 2000s off the north coast of Egypt, and bam! Divers hit the jackpot. They stumbled upon the sunken city of Thonis Heracleion. This ancient marvel wasn't just an underwater relic. It had serious street cred as a major maritime and trading hub back in the day. This city wasn't some hidden gem. Ancient Greek historians had it on their radar. Thonis Heracleion was Egypt's big-shot emporium, a bustling trade center, until the younger and flashier Alexandria stole its thunder around the 2nd century BC. Talk about a sunken city with a tale to tell. Imagine a time when Thonis Heracleion stretched across islands in the Nile Delta, its landscape woven with a network of canals. This bustling city, a star in its prime, faced its downfall in the late 2nd century BC. The culprit? A triple threat of earthquakes, rising sea levels, and the eerie phenomenon of soil liquefaction. Mother Nature dealt a tough hand, causing the once vibrant Thonis Heracleion to succumb to the forces of the earth and water. It's like a real-life drama where a city that once thrived met its watery fate due to the powerful dance of geological and environmental factors. The ancient echoes of Thonis Heracleion linger beneath the waves, a testament to the ever-changing tides of history. Let's dive into the history books. Pavlopetri, an ancient city in Laconia, Greece, took a plunge into the sea around 1000 BC. The intriguing part: the remains, with buildings and streets neatly outlining a whole town plan, have their roots dating back to 2800 BC. Now, shifting the spotlight to the south coast of England, we have the medieval town of Old Winchelsea in East Sussex. Unfortunately, it faced a tough break during the storm of February 1287. Significant flooding dealt a blow, and Old Winchelsea found itself submerged by the rising waters, becoming another chapter in the annals of sunken towns. These underwater remnants tell tales of civilizations and settlements lost to the whims of time and nature. So while Atlantis might remain a tantalizing mystery, these sunken cities remind us that real-life submerged treasures do exist beneath the ocean surface. Thanks for joining us on a quick note as we uncovered the stories of cities lost beneath the waves. If you enjoyed this quick exploration, make sure to give us a thumbs up, subscribe for more historical insights, and hit that notification bell to catch our next quick note. Until next time, this is a quick note, signing off.